Hey, welcome back. In this episode, let's experiment with navigating between controllers. So navigating between view controllers. Right now we're working with just a main controller. So that's within our controllers directory here. And we have a main view. That is the UI view for this main view controller. What we want to do is create another controller, another view controller, and navigate to that on a button press. So the first thing we want to do is create another button. So I'm just going to copy all of this right here, and I'm going to create a new button. I'm going to get rid of these comments since they're no longer necessary for the second button here. And what I'm going to do is change button to to-do button. Okay, and this will allow us to kind of go to another create another button and add that to the sub view. So this will be a UI button, but instead of creating a new one, just passing new through there, let's experiment with adding a UI button with a button type. So I believe that is, let's see if I can find that. Button with type. So creating button with type. And so what we'll do is I will copy this into the comments and we will translate that over. So button with type, and then we're going to pass in a UI button type. So let's look for that UI button type. And in this example, I'm just going to add a detail disclosure just to see what that kind of does. All right. And then for the button title, we're going to make sure it goes to add to do. So eventually this will be a working app where we can add some to-dos. And then for the highlighted state, I'm just going to get rid of that. Button color, instead of red color, let's go with blue color. And then let's set this far below. So let's go ahead and set that to 300. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So I'll set the width as 300 here. And then since we've added this as an instance, let's go ahead and make sure that we can call it within our view controller by adding it up here. So to do button, and this should be all set. So we'll go into the view controller and we'll take this target and we'll copy it and then change button to do button and change the action to second controller. I'm going to create a second controller that it navigates to. So what we want to do is create that action, second controller, and what do we put in there? So what we want to do is take a look at the documentation, and since we're going to be navigating, let's type in navigate or something close to that, see if we can find a controller for that. So something that's going to control how this acts. So let me see, navigation. This is module property, and let's see if we can find a class of UI navigation controller. UI navigation controller, great. So what this does, if we take a look at the navigation controller, this appears to do what we wanted to do. So it's opening up a general window, taking you to that general controller, and if you take a look at that, it takes you to the anti-auto lock controller, view controller. Okay, great. That looks like what we wanted to do. A navigation controller, UI navigation controller, has an array of view controllers. Okay, that's exactly what we want. We want it to consider that. And of course, we're passing in that UI navigation controller is the same thing that's in our app delegate right here, UI navigation controller. So that is the same one that we're going to be using. Just take a look through this. And what we want it to do is see if we can move between controllers in the stack. So accessing items in the navigation stack. So it seems like we're on the right track here. Pushing and popping stack items. I think this is what we want. So we want to push the view controller onto the receiver stack and update the display. Okay, that seems right. Let's take a look at this Objective-C code. Let's copy that over and let's go back into our main view controller and see what happens if we use this. So what we're going to do is we're going to call upon, let's see, we have to call upon the navigation controller here. So we're gonna pass in a view controller, tell it whether we want to animate it or not. And so we need, so these actions are on the navigation controller. So that means we have to get our navigation controller. That's within our app delegate. Get that navigation controller. And we need to paste that in. So the reason it's like that is because if we're looking at app delegate, it's a variable. So we can pass that through here and push view controller. So we're going to push a view controller onto our navigation controller stack. And what I want to do is I want to push in a second view controller.rb .new. So it's going to create a new instance of that. And let's go ahead and create a new file here. Second view controller.rb, and we'll create that. And it will be a UI view controller just like the main view controller was. And so we have to specify view did load. I'm going to give it a self.title. Oops. Second controller. And then I'm going to give it a load view. And this one, I'm just going to give it a self view. It's going to be a UI view.new. And then we're going to set the background color to a UI color of red, just so we can easily tell that we've navigated through another controller here. And so what we're going to do is we'll save that and we will recheck just to make sure. So push view controller, oops, forgot the animated. So animated, and again, we want to use true instead of yes. And that should animate our push to the next view controller. Let's see if this works. So let's go in here, we'll rake and see if this all works now. Okay, we got that button here, and you can tell it has a different style to it. It has that little info button right there. And that is because we've added that Uibutton type detail disclosure. If we click on that, boom, it takes us to the second controller. And you'll notice something here. It has a little back button that allows you to go back to the top of the stack, which would be that main controller. So you can click on it as many times as you want. It's going to have that little back button to the main controller. So that is how you add a button that leads to another controller, and that's how you navigate to another controller using that push view controller. There's some other options here. You got the push view controller, pop view controller, pop to root, pop to view. I'd recommend going through that and reading through that and maybe trying that out yourself to see what that will do for you. But that is the basics of going ahead and navigating through a different controller. I hope this video helps. I'll see you in the next one.